also good. I didn't have mincha yet, so I'm under the gun today. Uh, where did we leave off? About a Mishnah, right? Yeah. So
Yeah.
right off the bat is a fascinating thing from this Mishnah that's Nogeya to our lives every day. Talk about stress and where people are too machmer. We'll get to it in a minute, but this Mishnah is mamish, the source of something that comes up all the time. And sometimes we listen to it and sometimes we don't. Let's see. So Amoicher, Mishnah on Tzadi Gimel and Beis. Amoicher Peiris L'Chaveiroi. If somebody sells fruit to his friend, Harezim Makabel Love, Roiva Tinoifis. The saw. 1/4 of dirt per saw. Meaning when you have a farm, so there's always going to be dirt mixed in. So whatever's considered the norm, he doesn't have to separate because it's a big headache to separate it. And that's the normal way when you buy say a bag of potatoes and you know it's 5 pounds, but there might be some dirt in there that are making up the 5 pounds. That's fine. So you get 1/4 per saw. Ta'enim. Figs is makabel of eser metulois lemeh. You're allowed to have 10 wormy per 100.
It only refers to dirt. It's not like 1 out of every 50 potatoes can be bad. Can be moldy.
Right, it's interesting. So by grain, it doesn't seem that it's acceptable to be moldy. It's a good point. It's a good point, right? How come it's changing? Like you're not allowed to have grain that's wormy. That's what you're saying, right? Yeah.
Something
So
like
that's anachanami. I don't know how that works.
1 out of every
Yeah,
50
I don't.
spoiled.
Yeah, I don't know. There has to be an allowance for that.
That's
Ta'enim
probably.
makabel. What?
I was gonna say, I don't know if the Mishnah is daf for these specific dirty things. I mean, probably anything. It's just giving you an
Yeah,
example. Yeah,
but we need to understand why the Mishnah keeps changing examples. Meaning it's changing each fruit seems to have its own thing.
right. Because I guess there's no
Okay.
dirt in the dates, but you have bad dates or whatever.
Yeah, but the worms can always be, right?
Right.
So ta'ena makabel of eser metulois lemeya, 10 per 100. Martav shel yain makabel of eser kaisasois lemeya. You get 10 barrels out of 100 are sour. Kankanim Sharon. So kankanim is jugs of wine in the Sharon. Makabel of eser pitzois lemeya. 10 pitzois is bad ones to 100. I don't know why it changes the lashon. Also, it's talking about barrels, so why it changes the lashon? Maybe that's the way they kept it. Either way, but what do you see from here? This is the main thing to know, and it's a good idea to know, and that is it's all of these. The numbers are 10%, right? That's right. Each one of them, it's 10.
Well, the grain is 10%.
No, the grain is a quarter. The grain is not, but everything else is 10%. So when
Grain's
you
not a quarter
basically,
either. It's not a quarter. It's a quarter kav per saw.
right, it's a quarter copper saw. Could be that comes out at 10%. I don't know.
No, it's like 4%.
It was a 6 calves in a saw.
1/124th.
Right, so it's 1/24th. Yeah, so that's not 10%. The other ones are 10%. Yeah. But the rest of it's 10%. So there's the sefer called Mishkanos Yaakov. When there's a chashash, when do you he holds, and this is what we pretty much everybody paskins like. When you have a chashash, let's say shotn is in suits. At what point do you have to be careful that you have to check for it because you have to be choshev for it? Or what percentage of infestation of bugs has to be in fruits and vegetables in order to be mechuyev to check for it? Meaning it's called a miyut hamatzoi. The Gemara calls it miyut in the Shulchan Aruch miyut hamatzoi, meaning it's a small amount, but it's matzoi, meaning it's common. So he says it's 10%. Anything under 10% is considered not existent, and you don't have to worry about it. Above 10%, he calls miyut hamatzoi, and he says he knows it from this Mishnah right here. So bottom line is, if you know that less than 10% of suits have shotness, then you don't have to check them for shotness. If you know that fruits and vegetables have less than 10% of them don't have infestation, then you don't have to. That is the main. That is the big. That's the major din that he proves from this Mishnah, right? So you're gonna ask, okay, so now why are we checking for shotness? It's a whole different schmooze, right? Because it's definitely less than 10%. Question is, how do you calculate it, right? Is it based on prices? Is it the fruits and vegetables? Also 10%. How of an entire field, of an entire box, of the world, right? That's the next level of complications. But the bottom line is based on this mission, it's 10%. Okay. And then the next major thing we learn is from the first words of the Gemara. Tani Rav Katina. Rav Katina learned Raiva Kitnius Lasa. When it was talking about dirt in the wheat, it wasn't talking about dirt. It's talking about kitnius, which is beans, right? Because they planted beans near the wheat. And since they planted beans near the wheat, it inevitably got mixed in, which is the source for what we call kitnius on Pesach. Right? This is the source for that, meaning we were afraid that kitnius has wheat mixed up in it. So therefore, they asered. That's why they asered kitnius. But again, it's a minig, because theoretically you could separate the kitnius. Even the Svardim who have rice on Pesach, most of them, they what do they triple check it to make sure there's no wheat mixed in, right? So that's the makar for this. Okay, we're on the second bottom line on Pegilon base. About fruitus lives, the Gemara asks. Tzadik base. What did I say? Pay. Tzadik base. I'm sorry. About fruitus life and dirt not. Vama Rabba Barchia Kus Kitusva Mishmei Derabba. Let's say a guy takes out the rocks from the goyren of his friend, from the what did he touch goyren again? From the granary, meaning from the pile of his friend. On Tamar Aleph. So he has to pay him back, even though all he stole from him was pebbles, but he has to pay him back the worth of chitin. Why? Because since like we said, when you sell chitin, you're allowed to have a certain percentage of dirt. Now that this guy ripped off the dirt, so the seller is going to have to replace that with wheat. So Mamela, when he took dirt from the seller, he has to pay him back in wheat. So you see that there is dirt. Bottom line is there is dirt that gets mixed into the wheat. So when I answer kitnius roiva froiris pachas miroiva. Kitnius, it's by kitnius it's a roiva, a quarter cup. Afroiris pachas miroiva, but afroiris is less than roiva, meaning not meaning ad v'loy ad bichlal, meaning it's up to a roiva, and that's it. Not more, not exactly, not a actual roiva. Meaning, so basically, the Gemara is saying that there's two different measurements. There's 4 kidneys is mixed in, so that's a roiva, including a roiva. And for dirt, it's up to a roiva, but not the roiva itself. It's a small difference. It's a small difference, but that's the difference. So Gemara asks, second line down, Tzadi Dalan Bar Aleph, Bafreris roiva loy, and we're going to say that by dirt, they don't do a roiva, only up to a roiva. Somebody sells fruit to his friend, chitin. So if it was chitin, makabel of roiva, kitni is lasa. The seller has to accept, the buyer has to accept a roiva of kitni is for a sa. Sa'irim, barley, makabel of roiva, nishayvas lasa. He has to accept a quarter of straw, meaning these are all things that get mixed in. Adashim is lentils and beans. Makabel of roiva afroiris lasa. You take a quarter of dirt. My love, who adin lechitim l'soirin. So l'chayra dirt, meaning here the brisa is thinking that everything's interchangeable. Meaning it's not each type of it's not peiros with kitnius and barley with with straw, right? It's not that. It's meaning each one's interchangeable. And you see, it says a
It's not a
roiva kav.
quarter,
So I'm going to
Yaakov.
answer. It's a quarter of a kav.
4%. It's a four. So that's 4%.
Yeah, we did. Yeah, we crunched the numbers. Yes,
You
it's
did it already.
4%.
I'm sorry. I apologize.
No problem. No. We crunched the numbers because the rest of the mission is 10%, right? So we were clearing why this one is 4% and the other one's 10%, amongst the other clears that we had. But yeah, you're right. When I'm saying a quarter, I mean a quarter of a kav. Quarter of a kav, yeah. Right, quarter of these numbers, I tell you. It's a quarter of a kav, right? Yeah. Anyways, so my answer, Shani Adoshim to Mi'akar Akri Lahu. Adoshim is different because it gets uprooted. The way I don't know, you get the way you get beans is that you pick it up with the dirt. So Mamela, there's more dirt. There's more dirt found in it, but wheat is cut, so therefore it doesn't, right? And of course, my sister-in-law came in with a case of, I don't know where she schnorred it from, a case of beans. What is it called? Arbus, a case of it in
Chickpeas.
Chickpeas. Adoshim, right? I just chop now. She came in with a whole case. So if anybody wants Adoshim, we
Baruch
have.
Hashem, you had a girl. You had a girl.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, yes. But I got plenty of Adoshim if anybody wants to see Adoshim. Yes. Anyways, but that's just going to saying that you pull them up with the dirt. So Mamela there use a roiva kav, right? But wheat would have up to roiva kav. So Gemara asks, so you're saying that the reason why lentils or beans or whatever it is, the reason is that you have a roiva kav is because it's uprooted from the ground. But wheat and barley doesn't get cut like that. I mean, it doesn't get uprooted; it gets cut. So tifsha minah, let's say pshat, chiti v'sari dafreres loy makabel. Parrots, you gotta mute it, please. Yeah. I can't, I don't have the, there you go, thank you. Chiti usari da first, like makabel. Right? If that's the case, then so why don't we be patient that by chitim and sarim you don't have to do any dirt, right? So meaning maybe only adashim. So Gemara says, meaning, because if you wanted to teach that you get to subtract dirt, so then teach it by wheat and barley, which don't get uprooted, and you're for sure gonna know lentils, which do get uprooted, which have more of it, right? Lentils has more of a chance of having dirt in it. So if you teach just lentils, then that would tell you that wheat and barley, you don't get any dirt. You don't get any exclusion for dirt. Why not teach dirt? Meaning if dirt as an exclusion, so not teach dirt. Why not teach wheat and barley? And then if wheat and barley get an exclusion of dirt, then for sure lentils, which is uprooted. So Gemara says, no, chitim and also you get dirt. Adashim is but you needed to teach by lentils. Why? Since you actually uprooted with the dirt from the ground. So maybe you should get more than it's only like Rabban. He said it's only 4%, 4.5%, 4% in that area, meaning that so maybe if you're uprooting it from the dirt, say you should get more than 4%. Kamash Malon, that's why the Gemara is teaching about Dashim. Still, you only get for the 4%, the Roiva Kav, and not more than that, even though it gets uprooted from the dirt. But that doesn't mean that barley and wheat also get dirt. They also get dirt, right? Just slightly less. So Amar Rav Huna, so now Rav Huna says an interesting din here. In Baal and Nafis, let's say the guy decides that he wants to sift it, meaning the buyer wants to sift it. And then he'll try and catch whether the seller put in more dirt than wheat, and he tried to rip him off. Meaning we're saying he gets a roiva akav, up to roiva akav. So maybe this guy decided he's gonna sift it, and then he realizes this guy put in, let's say, 6%. So maybe the guy's a crook. So then what happens is Manafes Kula, then he could sift everything and he could give it all back to the guy that sold it. Meaning what he's basically saying is that yes, the seller gets a 4% allowance, right? But if he gets caught putting more dirt in there, then he loses even the 4% allowance. Right? Meaning we don't just knas him up to the 4%. We're gonna, well, that the Gemara is gonna declare whether it's a knas or not. But basically we take it all away from him. The mashal I thought about this is, I'm sure we all do this with the kids, right? A kid asks for a candy, and then they start grabbing more candies, and you say, you took too much. Now I'm taking the one that you got away also, right? I'm sure we've all done that wonderful chinuch thing, or we've been the recipient of that when we were kids, right? So that's essentially, no, nobody's done this. It's only me. Okay.
No, I do it too. Don't worry.
I remember it all too well.
Okay, I'm not saying that. There you go. I feel bad for all for ourselves and for our kids. Okay. But the point is, that's what Rav Chisda is saying. I'll give you 4% allowance for dirt. You take more, I'm taking it all away. Right? Now, so Amri lo dina, Amri lo knasa. Some say it's actually din, and some say it's a knas. Amri lo dina. Some say it's a din man de yoav zuze. Somebody who gives money, who pays money for wheat. A peri shapiri yoav. So obviously he wants to have good peiros. But it's not worth his time to sift through, to separate the dirt and to wet. So he's willing to some stop every and say, I'm gonna a little bit, but as long as I don't have to go, as I don't point. If there's a really good sale, then you have to hear. Really, a person expects pure wheat with no dirt, but it's not worth it for him, so he's willing to sacrifice. So for Raiva loy tarachinish, yoisem Raiva tarachinish. But if it's more than a Raiva, then the person is going to work. The kiman the tarach, and now once he started working because he was concerned that the guy continue, he's not going to just sift through. He's not going to do the headache of sifting through the wheat up until 4%. So Mamela, it's a din, right? It's a din, and therefore he loses it. All of these sales, as we've been learning for the last couple of months, all of these sales are based on what's the accepted practice and what people are willing to accept. So this guy would be willing to accept the loss of having some dirt mixed in, so he doesn't have to have the headache of sifting. But for whatever reason, he started sifting, then he's going to continue the full job. And Mamela, he doesn't want any dirt in there. So Mamela, if this guy put in too much dirt, and then the buyer checked it out, so the buyer no longer is Michael that 4%. That would be a din. And some say it's a knas. It's common to have 4%, a quarter of a kav in the wheat. But more than that is not shchiach. And it must be that the seller mixed in more dirt to make more money. And since he mixed it in, the Rabbanan knast him and they took away everything. Okay, so again, but the main point is Rav Chisda. What's your problem?
I don't understand you. I don't know. At first, the face was I couldn't hear anything. The connection was bad, and I was wondering if it was just me or if it was.
No, it broke up. It broke up for a little bit.
Yeah. But now I don't understand how it could be a knas. Let's say it's more than a roiva. Now your video is frozen.
This sounds like Lakewood style Bittul Torah.
Oh, I'm in Muncie, so yeah.
I don't understand how it could be a
Uh-oh. We're losing him.
We're good job there, Gershon. Very good job, Gershon.
That's why we didn't say anything, because now it got worse.
Go ahead. You can't hear me?
Now I can. Let's say there's more than a roiva, right? So he gives it back. He's entitled to something back. So he's going to go and take the dirt part of it. So there's now, let's call it a full cob. He's going to take the full cob of dirt back to the guy and says, instead of dirt, I want wheat.
Right.
And the guy's going to say, okay, I'm going to give you 3/4 of a cob of wheat, but 1/4 of a cob of dirt I was allowed to give you. So here's 1/4 of a cob of dirt.
And that's the knas, that's not allowed now because you tried to.
No, but it doesn't make sense.
Why not?
Why not?
Pay potatoes. You can't.
The Rashbam says that in the first shot, you're not mochel on anything. It's just you're not going to go through the work to do it. But in the second shot, where it's knas, the guy's mochel even more than a roiva. It's just Chachamim gave a knas, get his money back, which is a chiddush. But
well, if he's going to get his money back, he's not. He's obviously not mochel it. Who's the knas on? The knas is on the buyer. The Chazal told, buyer, you've got to go take it back. Okay, so he's not mochel it then.
That's not what the Rashbam says. The Rashbam says, "Be'etzem even minadin, even more than a roiva, he's mochel."
If he's mochel, he's not going to want to get his money back. He's like, okay, forget the whole thing. I'm good.
It's not worth his headache.
No, but because it's
so you get a knas. The knas goes on the seller. Who cares? Maybe you want to take the money and put it to the community chest, maybe. Right?
So that's what he's saying? He doesn't have to give it back to the buyer?
Hello?
I've seen the song Shabbos.
I'm not saying maybe you know.
We're so happy.
Yeah. Anyways, yes, yeah, we got to go. But yes, thank you, Aaron. But maybe that's what it's saying. Go back to him. It has nothing to do with that. Right?
One more thing on this Gemara, the Rama says if you pay a sofer to write a Sefer Torah for you, and you get mistakes back on it, so if it's common mistakes, then you get your money back. Otherwise, you do. And the Goyen says the Makar is this Gemara. Something people are going to be mechel on, as long as there's no minhag of makom, whatever. Assuming there's no minhag, then you can, it'll be tali on if it's normal or not. It's very nageya.
Yeah. Okay. Anyways, weiter. If we weren't so late, I'd tell you that the shiloh that the guys keeps calling about. Now he texted that somebody's being cremated. How far does he have to go to stop it? If you really want to know. But okay, we're late. So, that's what flashed on the screen just now. Meisvei, yeah. So and now we're gonna have a bunch of rayas and kashas to Rav Chista's din. Again, the main point to understand is Rav Chista saying that if you get caught cheating, we're taking all the bonus away from you. That's the main point. So Meisvei, that's the kasha. Let's see if Klayim. So we know Klayim from the Mishnayos that we learned. You're not allowed to plant a mixture of different types of grains. There's Klaya Kerem, there's regular Klayim, whatever it is. It mixed in is it mixed into your wheat, let's call it, is 1/4 of a kav of something else. So now, do you have can you plant it or not? So the Brisa says you might. You have to get it down to less than 1/4 of a kav. Right? Now, Savrua the Roiva, the Klayim, Ki Yosim Roiva the Hocha. Where the assumption is that when it says a Roiva by Klayim, is the equivalent of more than a Roiva here, which means, and by Klayim means you just have to get it under a Roiva, and then you can plant it. So too here, you just have to get the dirt to buy to a Roiva, and then you can sell it, which is not like Rav Chisda, but Katani Yamayit, but the Mishnah there says you be Mamayit. Meaning all you Mamayit is to a level that's mutter, and then it's fine. Right? So it's a kasha. So when it says loy roiva the climb ki roiva the hachadami. We're not roiva the climb is a roiv here. But enochanami, if it was more than a roiva, if it was more than 1/4, then you would take it all the way. You'd have to remove all the other type of vegetable. Ihachi, the one says amayimayit. But if it's only that amount, so what do you have to be mamayit? It's not a puzzle amount. Chumra de klayim. We say because of the chumra of klayim. Because climb is a very chomer thing. So Mamela, that's why we want you to knock it down. Ihachi on base. Aim a sefer. What about the sefer? Rabbi Yosi, I'm Yover. Rabbi Yosi says you have to take out all the. Let's say you're planting wheat, you got to take out all the other seed. If you say that it's more that the climb is the same as more than a roiva, so we understand the machlokes in Tanakama and Rabbi Yosi. Tanakama so we don't make the knas of a heter because of isur. Rabbi Yosi Sober Kansina, we make a knas, and therefore he has to take it all out. Elai Amrit, Kiroiva Dami, but if you say that it's a roiva, Amai Yavar, why should he? Why does he have to take it out? If it's mutter midaraisa, so then there should be no chumras. Again, the more answers hasam. I know time of the Rabbi Yosi Misham the Mirsi Kimekayim Klayim. Because it looks like it looks like if we're going to allow him to have any mixture there, it looks like we're allowing this guy to do klayim, even though the mixture was there. It was against his will and he didn't know about it. But the bottom line, I mean, I guess now he knows about it, but it wasn't done on purpose. But still, it looks like he did klayim. Okay, so then Tashima from the second daf in Bava Metzia, a case that we should all be familiar with. Tashima Shnayim Shifkidu Eitzelechas. You have two guys that gave money to somebody to watch. One guy gave 200, one gave 100. Zemana v'zem Masayim. Ze'aimer Masayim Shali, v'ze'aimer Masayim Shali. And then, of course, the guy that watched it has no idea who gave him 100 and who gave him 200, which is a shaila in Bava Metzia, which I have no recollection of. Why isn't he liable? The shomer is irresponsible. He doesn't remember who gave him 200, who gave him 100. Right? Bottom line is somebody's lying here. So nice. So what's the din? So the Tanakama says nice and lazemana. You give 100 to each because everybody's for sure getting 100 because one gave 200, one gave 100. So everybody's entitled to 100 for sure. And the rest you give to Elio. But according to Rav Chisda, one of them is lying. So why are you rewarding him with his 100? Since one of them is lying, don't give the 100 to either one of them because he's lying. Somebody's lying, and you're rewarding him by at least making him not take a loss. So your answer is it's not a kasha Rav Chisda. What?
Well, you're not rewarding him.
What do you say?
You're not rewarding him.
You're not rewarding him, but you're not causing him any sort of loss. Meaning, what's the risk? Why wouldn't I try? Let me say 200, right? What's the worst that's going to happen?
Maybe he's honest. Maybe Rav Steiner and Yashiv gave guys money to watch, and he doesn't know. So no, you're the ones people who believe in Bigoi. So why are you thinking these you're lying? What do you think?
I hear. Okay, but somebody is lying.
No.
Well, one gave 200, one gave 100. Right. They're both claiming
somebody 200. Here has to be lying. We just don't know.
He remembers giving him 200. He's mistaken. No.
Right. Is going to go through both studim here. So anyways, so Gemara answers Hachi Hashna. No, Hasam Vade Mana Lamar. There for sure, each one, like Rabbaran sort of saying, like each one is getting 100. Hacha meaning one, each one definitely it gets 100. Hacha Mi Yemer the Lav Kule Arube Arif. Here, who says that he didn't mix in all the junk? Right? Meaning it's very there for sure, each one gets 100. Here, the person, it could very well be that he pulled shtick, so therefore he should lose everything. Okay, so then now the Gemara switches and wants to prove Rav Huna. Rabbi Yosi disagrees. He says, "What if you're going to give 100 to each? Then the liar is not going to lose anything. Everything should stay until Elio." So you see, that's a raya to Rav to Rav Huna, because you see, you take everything away. Hachi Hashda, we say no. Hasam Vade Ika Ramai. There, somebody's for sure lying, so that's why you don't want to give him back his base. Acha mi yemer the ruveyor. But here, who says the guy pulled shtick? Maybe Taka was a bad batch of wheat that had a lot of dirt in it. So Tashema shtar sheyesh by ribis, a shtar that has ribis in it. Kaintenoisa you knasim. Beina goyva loyas akem loyas ribis. Divrei Rameir Shita holds if a guy lends beribis, he loses everything. right? He doesn't get the keren, he doesn't get his principal, and he doesn't get the interest. The Rameya, so you see, that's a raya to Rav Huna, because you see, you take everything away. So my answer is there, when he wrote the star, you're already over on ribis. Once you lend the ribis, even if you never take the money, you're already over on Issa. So he was over on Issa right off the bat. Here, who says that he did it? We don't know. It could be it all went by mistake. So therefore, we maybe we won't take it away. One more, Toshima, Miseifa, but from that Seifa, Chamamayrim, Goivesa Karen, Veina Goivesa Ribis. There, you collect the Karen, and the Chacham say the guy can collect his principal, he just can't collect his ribis. Obviously, for sure can't collect his ribis. So you see that's a kasha on Rav Chisda. Now, yeah, so Gemara answers, there, the principal's for sure mutter. There was he didn't do anything wrong. Hacha, meaning he did something wrong, but the bottom line is it's not also to collect your Karen. Hacha, mi yamer the kulay le'aruve here. Who says that? How do we know that the guy didn't mix everything in? So, we have no kasha. I don't know why the previous Gemara asked the kasha of Chisda first and then proved it from another opinion. And here the Gemara proved it and then asked. I'm not sure why it did that, but time is up. So, all right. Have a good shot.